Well, hello and good morning and good evening and good afternoon and good every beautiful thing to everyone in the world today. Welcome to Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. And as usual, with our beautiful Mornay, and joining us again today, Catherine Edwards. Welcome, Catherine. So awesome to have you back. How are you?
Oh, it's lovely to be here with you two. I love these chats, and I'm good. I think I'm entering the autumn stage, like we are in the UK, where I'm doing a lot of shedding at the moment and getting myself prepared for the winter. That's how it feels to me at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into this very lovely conversation that we're going to be having today with you again, as we always enjoy our conversations with you so much, we just want to do a little promo on our upcoming course that's workshop that's coming up for the next 8 weeks. I'm going to be teaching an online conscious communication workshop, which we're going to be filming for training purposes as well. So it's going to be going up onto our website after we've filmed it. So then it's going to be available online for you guys as well. So super excited about that. But I'm taking on a small group of people that will be part of the workshop, the training of the conscious communication, which of course is animal communication. And not just animals, it's literally opening yourself up to perceive nature um, on different levels, opening up your third eye, connecting with nature, connecting with animals, connecting with each other on a much, much deeper level. So if any of you guys, I know there's maybe 2 or 3 spots that are still available. So if you guys want to book for that and get some further information, please let us know. It would be wonderful to have you guys on board. So, yay, Catherine. I don't know, Morna, before we even go further, is there anything you would like to say about the workshop?
Oh yes, conscious communication workshop. It's
Yes,
the best thing you can do for yourself. It's people. It's not just about talking to animals. It's so much more. It's about having that inner conversation with yourself again. So becoming conscious. You have to be conscious, and it's a lot of healing, a lot of transformation, and it gets so much more than just. I mean, when you hear the voice of your animals for the first time, that's a pretty cool feeling. But when you
yeah.
start working with it, then you start using that gift in a more conscious way with your mother, with your neighbors, with the plants, whatever. So I love this workshop. It's like the holy grail of workshops for me, because if you can get that, if you can communicate with animals, you can communicate with anything. So
Yeah.
I suggest everybody, if you want to do it, do it. It's really worth it.
And can I just say, for anyone, because everyone knows, I'm always talking about animals, absolutely love animals, and they've got so much to teach us. And I would just love any of my listeners who share their lives in any way with animals to do this course, because honestly, once you launch into this, so much of the fear and the worry and the stress goes away, because when you're tuned in at that level, the answers become a lot more obvious for you, and then your animals can help you. Not only are you helping your animals massively because you're understanding them at a different level, looking at the world through
Absolutely.
their lens, which is so important, but also you're going to get so much back from your animals reciprocated, because they will be helping you through life's journey and everything as well. So I would just love to say, anyone who can jump on that course, you will not regret it at all. You'll get so much out of it. Even if you're not currently got an animal in your life, you're going to get so much out of it, because obviously we're all interacting with nature all the time.
Absolutely. And it really is the way forward for the new earth is to
Yeah.
learn how to connect. We've been so disconnected from God's creatures around us as well, and then when we learn how to reconnect and fine tune into so much that we didn't even begin to realize was existing, suddenly your world opens up in such a magnificent, magnificent way. It's like you really then discover the richness of life, and it's got very little to do with money and material goods. It's a richness that becomes alive within you, and it just spreads and spreads and grows and grows. So I'd love to see you guys. As I said, we're doing the live one, which is the recorded, which we recording over 8 weeks. So if you want to be part of the live recording, you can let us know. But thereafter, it will be available online. So look forward to it. Anyway, thank you for that, guys. So good to have you back, Catherine. And I know you haven't seen many recordings from us here the last couple of weeks. I've had a very special little person enter my space for the last few weeks. So she's definitely got my prioritized attention. And wow, what a blessing it is to be a grandma. That's for sure. I have had myself just the light of my life and just that beautiful igniting flame. And it is so, so good to feel that. And I wish that for everyone. I really do. That you find that something or someone that just helps you ignite that spark when you need it the most. And, you know, we got to be conscious that we need it. And I wasn't afraid to reach out and say, I need this. And I got it. You know, it was beautiful. So really good to have you, Catherine. And I think a very pertinent topic we're going to be chatting about today is really just helping each other out of the swamp, because that's such a fundamental gift we can give someone, is just to be there in a loving and a kind way. So I'm just going to hand over to you and just, hear from you. What do you have to say? Where do we go with this?
Sure. I mean, when you sort of mention that as a title, I think it's really apt at the moment because, you know, first of all, it's going to mean something different to everyone, because everyone who's watching this is going to be, and the three of us, we're all going to be going through different things at different stages. But I think the key is understanding that, you know, swamps in nature are really vital. They're a vital part of the ecosystem. And they're also a vital part of our life, because when we're caught in a swamp and we're caught in something, one, there's a reason for it. There's a reason why we've gone into the swamp in the first place. But also it's about, like you just mentioned with your granddaughter, about being able to ask for help and all ask each other for help. Because I think this is one of the biggest stages, certainly that I'm at in this process of waking up to what on earth's going on in my world, but also in the world at large, is that understanding that we're all going to be falling into that swamp at different times, and actually we can all be there to help each other out. You know, I want to help other people out of the swamps, and I really hope they're going to help me out of the swamp when I need it, and we all are going to need it, and we all are needing it. And you know, these swamps are alive with all sorts of creatures, and as I said, a living ecosystem, putting you know, the physical swamps that we have on this planet, putting nutrients back into the earth. So I think also metaphorically, looking at when you feel like you're really stuck in that awful place and you need help getting out, is understanding that there's always a lesson or something good coming out of it, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time.
Absolutely. I think when we look at a swamp as well, you know, it's kind of a watery, muddy, sludgy, sucky, inny, like inverted kind of sensation, right? So it pulls you under. And I think that is so essential for our human development as well, you know, emotional, spiritual, and mental development, is to understand that, is that when we are going through hard times and when things are looking particularly dodgy in our lives, it is really an opportunity to look within and to be able to understand that when we look at God's law of correspondence, okay, or the law of attraction, to me, it's pretty much the same thing. We understand that we put out a frequency, and we understand that all our emotions and all our thoughts are actually frequencies, right? So does that drag us down? What are we feeling? Are we in pain? Are we in fear? Do we constantly keep ourselves in that sludgy mess of emotional turmoil or whatever it might be? Because even though it's really not a good feeling to be in that place, it's probably essential for you to understand what it is that you are feeling. And it's in those moments that we really need to just go within, have the courage to reach out to someone and see what assistance can be offered, And there again, everyone, I think, offers something different at different times, which I think is so important. And at this time especially, to let the judgment go of whatever it is and just be there as humans for each other. That's really, in a nutshell, that's what it is for me.
I just want to add, Shanti, you said something very valuable there, that the swamps are also necessary for our growth in that sense. Because if you look at the lotus flower, the beautiful symbol of spirituality, the lotus flower has to grow through the mud, through the darkness, through the swamps, until it comes up and it opens up to enlightenment. The swamp is necessary, that stuff is necessary for us to grow. And when we sit with it and grow with it, then we go through it. And that's how we heal. We can't bang, slash everybody, judge everybody, go crazy, scream, shout. That's not how we got to get out of the swamp. It's like the never-ending story. That swamp is the never-ending story. As soon as we start fearing, the swamp devours us. How the horse died. So if we don't fear, we can rise above the swamp. We can move through the swamp, and we need each other. That's so valuable. We do need each other. We can't do it alone. We are in this together. That's what makes us humans. We are social beings. So, but yeah, I love what you said. Just the swamp is necessary for our growth. God doesn't make mistakes.
Exactly. And also, don't you notice that within a swamp, I've only seen this from movies, because touch wood, at the moment no one's dumped me in one, or I haven't jumped in one personally yet, but isn't it true that what you're told when you go into the swamp or quicksand is do not struggle, be still, because the more you struggle when you're in there, the quicker you get sucked in. And isn't that perfect analogy for when you're going through things in your life? The more you struggle and resist, the worse the experience is going to be for you. When you are still and then allow whatever needs to come to help you, or have that stillness to help yourself, then you're going to get out of that swamp a lot quicker.
Absolutely. It's what I always say. My favorite Bible verse is, be still and know that I am God. Because in that moment of stillness, you're so connected to your inner being that the answers and the alchemy in that moment is there at that darkest, most intense moment. So, and it's true, we were also speaking about the lotus flower. I always say that I have a saying that says, no mud, no lotus. So, in Eastern teachings, as Morné, you were saying, is the lotus flower is the sacred flower because it has so much spiritual symbolism. So if you look at the seed of the lotus flower, which starts in the muddy waters at the bottom of the pond, right? So there it sits. And that's what it requires in order to grow. And then when it starts growing, it will grow through the waters. And as the stem starts growing through the water, it clears the muddiness around it. So the water becomes clear as it grows up. But the more murky the water, the more beautiful and brighter the actual lotus flower when it comes to the surface of the pond and springs into full bloom, which is now receiving the enlightenment of being, so to speak. So that is the symbolism of what that really means. So we all have our muddy, murky, crappy experiences here on earth. like that is symbolized by the mud of the pond, right? But as we grow in strength and as we become more understanding, because the water is the emotion, as we start feeling things differently, we're able to grow and thereby clear that murkiness in our vicinity, and then expand and express ourselves in full consciousness where we really understand everything. And that day is coming. That's, so that for me is really what the message around that is.
Yeah, you can see what's happened on a very public scale with political leaders, etc., all around the world. And I think one of the things that I think where us humans get a little bit confused is we seem to think that by pushing other people into the swamp, we stop ourselves going into the swamp. And in fact, it's the opposite. It's just one less person to help you when you go in there. And I do find it quite interesting to think, where does that characteristic come from? Because you wouldn't see another animal doing that. So I think it's also the realization that you look at what some of the top political leaders have been through, and how long, even not just political leaders but medical people that have been trying to expose sort of risks and have been ridiculed, shut down, lost their jobs, whatever profession it is. Anyone who's trying to shine light and clear the murky waters and make the picture clearer for people, there's always people that are desperately trying to shut them up by shoving them in the swamp. And actually that's never going to serve anyone, because one, the light does come through in the end, look at the lotus flower. And secondly, as I said, trying to shove other people in the swamp isn't going to stop you falling in. In fact, you're more likely to tip off balance when you're pushing them.
Absolutely. It's you mentioned an interesting, you said something interesting there when you said it's exactly true. Other species or animals or whatever, you wouldn't find them trying to push their friends in the waterhole or down the cliff or whatever, unless there's a big fight for territory, right? Yeah. And I think what's become clear to me over the years in the work that I've been doing is seeing that fear, which is really the acronym false evidence appearing real. The fear in people makes them believe that they can't achieve or be something, because we've been conditioned to fear. Remember, if we just think about the earth right now, it's under Luciferian reign, right? Which is all about fear. So you come in to a debt system, invariably your parents might be in debt or some unhappiness going on or something. So already energetically, you're coming into that kind of a feeling that there's not enough and you are not enough. So that is ingrained into us prior to even being born. So that fear of not having or not believing you can achieve or create abundance for yourself just by knowing you are born in the light of God and you are a creative being and you have the ability to turn frequencies into things which you're doing all the time, every day anyway, and we're just mostly unaware of it. And that is why people do the horrific things they do, because when you are not coming from your space of love, you will come from fear into believing that why do others have and I don't? And then feel that you can steal from them or take or manipulate or whatever the situation is. So it's coming from that place where people don't know that they have the power within them to create amazing lives and to create abundance on levels that we haven't even begun to understand yet. So that for me would be one of the major things that we must remember, is that we are born in the light of God or the source. We are amazingly creative beings. We have the power to create what our heart desires, and even mostly what our heart even doesn't desire. When we look at many of our manifestations, right? Many of the manifestations that we create in our lives are not what we truly want, but we have no idea that we can actually create something different and that we are creative and that we do have the ability, when aligned with God to create and manifest for ourselves amazing things.
Yeah, nature's so wonderful, such a wonderful teacher. I mean, I was saying to you just before we hit the button today, you know, in the UK, we've had a real drought, I think the driest summer on record. And then we've just had moderate amount of rain for a couple of weeks. And I cannot tell you how beautifully everything has sprung back. It is, you know, my husband laughs at me because it's like the constant awe of how wonderful nature is. And we're the same. I mean, the resilience that most people have shown over the last, we keep talking about over the last 2 years, but I think over the last of their lives. But, you know, the resilience that people have to bounce back even better, even stronger, with a much clearer, you know, anyone who's manifested something into their lives, and trust me, we all do, as you say, that you don't want. Well, first and foremost, well done. Well done. You've proved yourself to be a master manifester. All you've now got to do is the easy bit, which is shifting your focus. And I think sometimes, as you said, people get so much criticism around them, but from other people's judgments, when actually, honestly, the happiest people I know are the ones living the simplest lives. They're the ones that don't want for a lot. They're the ones that really are very much more back to basics. And often they're people who've also been through something very traumatic in their life, and therefore they really have reawakened that gratitude for the simple things of just waking up each morning with someone loving, whether that's a two-legged or four-legged thing around you. So I think remembering when you're in that swamp, just how resilient you are as an individual. And also the other good thing about when you're in that swamp is you very quickly see who's happy to help pull you out.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's so true. That's so true. You know, and it's such an integral part of life as well. You know, when we look at let's say looking at the chakra system, and we look at the root chakra Muladhara, sacral chakra Svadhisthana, and solar plexus Manipura. Those would be the chakras that we call the lower triad. And that's to do with our security, that's to do with our emotions, and that's to do with our personal power. So when those aspects of ourselves are not attuned and we're not in line and haven't worked with those core physical aspects of ourselves, that's when we're going to find we get drawn into that swamp. Then we become money hungry, we become greedy, we get stuck in addictions, we get stuck in destructive patterns and relationships and stuff like that. So, you know, it's up to each and every one of us to individually look at where we are stuck in the swamp. Everyone has a little swamp, right? We all do. Some of us are quite comfortable wading around there. Sometimes it's nice to sit with your feet in the swamp, you know, who knows, you know, but we all have those moments of being sucked in. I mean, I've been doing this for many years, and rest assured, I will have my moments of being sucked in as well. I just say, thank you, God, that I've been able to now apply the tools that I teach much quicker than what I did 5 or 10 years ago. So it's made my life a lot easier and a lot happier. I can tell you that much. So it really is about taking responsibility, I think, you know, or being able to understand that if I am in that situation, it's probably a lot to do with my own stuck feelings or my own stuck emotions or my own unhealed wounds that I haven't looked at yet or been able to look at yet. And when we start looking at that, and then we decide to take the step from there. So maybe there's someone I can talk to. Maybe there's someone I can reach out to. Start journaling. Go for walks in nature. That sort of stuff. Be conscious that the problem could be with you. That's all. Not blaming yourself, but just be conscious and aware that maybe something in me needs to change. That's the first step.
And do you think, I mean, you know, it's very easy to think, but, you know, on a one level, if the problem's with us, isn't that absolutely brilliant? Because the only person we can actually change is ourselves. we might want to change other people, but we all know that's not very successful and doesn't normally end well. So what tips have you both got for when people do go through that? Because again, it seems to be something that as a species, we find it really difficult to do, to take self-responsibility for things. It seems to be, you know, because the society pressure and the shaming and things like this is so bad. So what tips do you find work for you two, that when you do realize that you've got yourself into the swamp, to stop that self-loathing, the feelings of guilt against yourself or bashing yourself up?
Yeah. Namone, would you like to go first?
Yeah, well, what do I do? Well, it's very simple. I mean, when you've done the work for a very long time and you regularly, consistently doing the work, your higher self, for me, I mean, God just tells me when I breathe. It's like, okay, cool, I need to breathe right now. But it's nice when you start, like Shanti said, sometimes you do find you're back in the swamp again, but then you apply the tools. But sometimes it's necessary to dip your toes in that swamp for a while, just to figure out what is it that you're feeling. So I think the greatest tool for me is not being afraid of it. Because then just knowing that you can go through it and you can go above it. So for me, it always just goes back to the breathing and the knowing that it's fine. There's nothing to judge. You know, so if you stop doing the judgment within yourself, then you won't judge other people, and you're a lot more compassionate about the process that you have to go through as a human being, because human being needs to go through cycles of emotions and stuff like that. So, you know, until that swamp becomes a beautiful, clear blue ocean, sometimes you have to just go dip your toes into the swamp again. So for me, the real thing, back again, the breathing. It's just when you find yourself in that position, breathe. Because when you breathe, you go back into alignment with God, and then you move through it. And the answers are always there. So I would say breathing.
Yeah, from my side, I think I realize that when I'm feeling grumpy or irritated or angry or really, you know, emotions that I'm feeling triggered, what I really do is I choose to step back for that moment, even if it is for 10 minutes. I just choose to step back. And what I will do then is I'll maybe just go for a walk outside, or I will watch a 10-minute funny something on YouTube. I just like to give myself that break where I can just collect my thoughts before making any major decisions or reacting in a way that can very, very often be destructive when we're coming from that knee-jerk type of reaction. But generally, I've got to say, how I choose to live my life is I love nature, so I will take regular walks in nature. I go to the beach, I go to the forest, I meditate, I pray, I do yoga, I take care of myself, I make sure that I feel healthy and that I eat well. I make sure I have enough fluids in my body. So it is not just one or two things. I think there's a lifestyle that you choose. I'm not anal by any means, and by no means am I a purist. I assure you. I enjoy having a glass of wine with my friends as well, you know, and that sort of thing. So I don't eat animal products. I'll occasionally have milk in my cappuccino, that sort of stuff. But it's like I choose to live consciously. I choose to consider other people's feelings. I choose to give people the benefit of the doubt. I choose to use my own discernment. I choose to not get caught up in drama and fight and scream and shout at, you know, friends and what have you. It's like it's me, and I'm not saying I don't have issues from time to time. Yes, definitely. You know, especially when it comes to like certain family issues, I'm very triggered by certain things still. But what I found recently is that while, you know, we talk about life is not a straight path, it's a spiral. So I understood when certain childhood issues were coming up for me again in recent months, it wasn't about anyone else in my family, but it was me that chose to be in this family and experience what I did. I've been teaching that for many, many, many years, but it just came in and settled in on a deeper level. And it's the willingness. I think, for me, I'm often in prayer, and it's the willingness. And when there's a difficult situation in my life, I pray and I meditate. And I know that I'm going to receive the answer. I know it. There's not even a question. It's a matter of when. It's like I always talk about the Easter egg garden, As a kid, we had the Easter egg hunt, which for us, I know, was great fun over Easter. And your Easter eggs there. You know it. You've just got to find it. So it's that feeling for me when I pray. I know it's coming. I know it's there. I just got to find it. It's that feeling of anticipation I have, that even though when I'm in a really awful space, and I'm aware I'm in an awful space, and I allow myself to be in an awful space sometimes, I don't fight my emotions. I bring them into perspective, and I ask myself, why do I feel the way I do? What is triggering me? And then it just comes up. That's for me how I work with myself. And I was never always like that. I was very judgmental on myself, very critical, which meant I was critical and judgmental in my life as well, in my circumstances around me. So I chose to change that and just be a lot more gentle. And in that case, I attracted a lot more gentle, a lot kinder, a lot nicer.
I think that's such an important point, that, if we're finding ourselves reacting to, it doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter with the new leader of your country or what they're doing to fuel prices or something on a more personal level. If you're finding yourself reacting, it's always a mirror for how you're feeling about yourself, isn't it? It's always. Absolutely. Because I've said time and time again, as Wayne Dyer says, if you squeeze an orange, only orange juice can come out. Doesn't matter how cold the orange is, how new, how old, whether it's moldy, whether it's been in the freezer, you're never going to get lemon juice out of that orange. It's always orange juice. So I think, for me also, as I having a bit of sense of humor and stuff, I agree with everything you said. It's like putting those daily habits in place and finding what works for you, because we'll all have different priorities of what works for us and different priorities that work for us at different times. I mean, I know all of us are very into the breathing, the nature. Mm-hmm. And I also think, just being able to lighten up and really put into perspective, there's going to be really serious things that hit you, and other things also being able to question, is it really that important? In a year's time, am I going to look back and think, why on earth did I waste so much energy on this sort of thing? But it's a good one, isn't it, for everything that's happening recently? Because everyone keeps saying, we can only work on ourselves. We work on ourselves. And actually, whatever the question is, it seems to be the same answer, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And, the more we realize these things about ourselves, and this is what I say, the more we actually, because this is an investment in yourself, to actually eat well, live a balanced life. It's an investment in yourself. It gives you good health. It gives you a good feeling. And we know that when your body is feeling good, you can achieve just about anything. Mm. But when you're in pain and suffering, it's horrific. Life becomes an absolute misery. So I really think that we should see that time as an investment in ourselves. We tend to invest in insurance companies and medical aid and future stuff for when I get sick. It's like you're saying, okay, I'm going to get sick. Mm. And for me, it's like now is me investing in me while I still have my agile body with enough youthfulness in me to walk several million more miles on this planet. I intend to make the best use of that, and I intend to feel good while I'm doing it. So that's what, for me, is my good health, really. I don't invest in anything that is fear of my future. I'll tell you that much. So I invest in things that I feel are creative, and are of benefit to not just myself, but to those around me as well. So I know it sounds like I'm trying to maybe make myself into some saint here, and I'm definitely not, but I do know that that's what works, and I aspire to do that. I don't always get it right, but I know that when I get it right, it feels really, really good. So when it feels good, it must be good, right?
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for all the people that, just like you guys are doing your conscious communication, your animal communication, and that will be just what people need at the moment. And then other people will be getting into meditation. So there's so many free resources out there that people can tap into and see what resonates with them where they are at the moment. And then, if you want to learn a new skill, you can get, when I was trying to get back into running, which I've never enjoyed, but, there's an app there that can help motivate you and measure your progress. So what I was saying is like, there's so much out there if people want it, but you've got to take the first step and want it. So it's, going back to how do we help each other out of the swamp, it's like, yeah, but you've got to ask for the help. If you don't call out, and that help might be inspiration of a book that you need to read or something free to listen to. I mean, I'm so grateful for all the people that I listen to on podcasts and YouTubes and audio books and things like that, because I get something different from all of them. And, it's so interesting to see you can read a book or listen to a book and then 5 years later, listen to it again or read it again and get something completely different out of it. Well, the book hasn't changed. It's the ideal, mirror back up to you is I've changed, and therefore my filters have changed, and therefore I'm getting something different. The pages on the book haven't changed.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that phrase that says, in the age of information, ignorance is truly a choice.
Yes.
It's like everything is there. We've got free resources. You just have to go look for them. And then in doing so, you have to just realize, okay, I need help, so ask for it. So there's no more excuse anymore. And the key to stupidity is responsibility. People say there's no key to stupidity, but there is. It's responsibility. Take that responsibility. And I just wanted to say, how do you help somebody out of the swamp who doesn't ask for help? That's also a tricky thing.
Yeah.
How can you help somebody out of the swamp if they don't ask for help? I mean, there's little things you can do. You can sit with God, and God can show you maybe a few ways. Inspiration is always good if you can inspire them into a direction or just make them see something they haven't seen, by real, but you can't push somebody out of the swamp. You can maybe lure them a little bit, but you can't do that if you don't yourself already have done it and being open to that. So, yeah, in the age of information, ignorance is truly a choice. So just go out there and look for what inspires you.
I think we want to just put an ad up, right, for the thing, for the communication thing. And then afterwards, we'll speak about asking for help and the importance of asking for help. So I'd like to maybe address that afterwards. So, yeah.
Perfect. Cool. See you now.
Cool. Some of those pictures always make me laugh. Give me a good smiley feeling. Yeah. And as I was saying, what we were saying is the importance of actually asking for help. in situations. As a healer, I know one thing for sure. I am not allowed to force myself on anyone. I can certainly offer my assistance and maybe offer advice. And would you like to, or have you thought about? But at the end of the day, it is so necessary for the person to say, yes, I am, and to literally reach out and say, can you give me a hand? And I would say, absolutely. But I'm not, to go and dig in when someone is clearly not ready is the same as trying to force a flower to bloom before it's ready to bloom. So it's destructive, right? You're going to kill the flower. Simple as that. So in that way, where we can put down our weapons of anger, because fear, anger is really a mask for fear and pain. So to put down that anger and say, please, can you give us a hand? It would be really great if you could let me know about this or that sort of thing. But the minute we are able to do that, that's when you open yourself up and the person who can assist you somehow appears. And I think that is something very important for all of us to realize. A lot of people expect others to read their minds. They expect others to know what they're thinking and get really, really mad when the person is not responding in the way they expect, without having any form of communication, anything like that. And these are tricky times because people are coming out of some terrible situations. So for both sides, it's a sensitive thing, to offer help at appropriate moments, and also to be willing to ask for help when you know you need it, right?
I think it's so, we've spoken before in other chats about, children being parents, and people pick up on what you do yourself. You can say all the right things, but if they're not seeing you display that in your own behavior, in your own life, then they're going to notice there's a mismatch between what you're saying and what you're doing. So again, the more you demonstrate yourself that you're ready to take responsibility and ask for help, the more then people will then trust you as one of their friends, or whether it's in a professional way or in a personal friendship way or a family way. Because if we can't accept help ourselves when we need it, which the first point's got to be really honest self-assessment of where you're at. If you can't see yourself clearly, it's going to be very different often to even recognize that you need help. So I think when we're really, really honest with ourselves and everything we all talk about, when you learn to tune into yourself at all these different levels, and to be honest about where you really are in all aspects of your life, then not only can you ask for appropriate help, but also you recognize in the areas where you're quite strong that you can then provide appropriate help for others.
Absolutely. That's so true. And, you use the word appropriate. And I really think that is one of the key words here as well, is appropriate. So it's to ask. I was interviewing a very amazing lady a couple of weeks ago from New Zealand, called Gloria Masters, who has also endured some horrific abuses in her time, and has really just come out of this whole thing and has really healed. And she said what's so important, and having a similar type of conversation, she said it's so important just to ask the person, what do you need? What do you need? And if I can assist with what you need, I will. Otherwise, I'll see if I can help, see if someone else can assist. So it's really that, an offer, rather than trying to impose your ideas upon them, which are often so well-meaning, right? They are so well-meaning. It's not what you do, but it's how you do it. I think that again is very much the key. how we approach things.
Oh, wow. That's just really hits home for me because, you know, we all know what it feels like. I don't think there's anyone that's going to be listening today that doesn't know what it feels like to have someone try and offer help that hasn't been asked for, and how invasive that can feel, even if their intentions are really good for doing that. And normally they would be. But it's so right. You know, it's asking that simple question, what do you need, is so empowering to both sides, because also it's going to make you really feel listened to and treated as an individual, because people are so used to having other people's ideas of what you need projected onto them. I mean, you know, it's like a classic example. You know, so many people for years project onto my lifestyle about, oh, well, you know, you have to get up so early because you've got all the animals and do this, do that. And I'm like, yeah, but I've never had a problem with that. I love it. You've got a problem, and that's great. You don't choose that for your life, but I do. And then they start telling me how I should run my life and do this. And I'm like, no. And it can cause a lot of division. And again, it's these simple communication skills, isn't it? Actually asking a person, what do they need?
Yeah, absolutely.
So important, so simple, and yet so powerful.
And you know, another really great one, which I found has been so helpful in not just my personal communications as well, but sort of understanding communication, is words like always and never. You always this and you never that. I mean, that should really just please fly out of your vocabulary. Because to be told you always do this and you never do that, I mean, if someone says that to me, it is such a trigger, because especially when I know that I do a lot of that, you know, again, that's your projection. So maybe to approach someone and say, well, I feel that, or it seems to me that, it's my perception that, and then start what you want to say. Because the minute you're actually saying is, you know, I feel that you being cold towards me, I feel that you ignoring me, it seems to me like you're quite aggressive at the moment. So you're making your point quite validly, but it's not accusing. The minute we accuse people of things, because, you know, especially, you know, when it comes to just normal everyday conversations and stuff like that, it's very frustrating. The way we communicate with people, I think, is really, really important, and not to assume things about others. I think in the last 2 years, what I've learned so well is that there are so many people walking around next to you in the street, sitting on a bus, wherever it might be, and you have no idea what their past has been. You have no idea of where they've been in life. And to assume that their life is the same as yours and treat it as if it is. And I think that's where a lot of the division comes in. So it's always about asking, you know, questioning, listening. I think that's very, very important. And when when you just allow someone to speak and not interrupt them 1,000 times when they're trying to tell you something, is very important as well. These are all little things. And I believe you, you know, when someone is telling you a horrible story that is incredulous, as we've heard so many times on this channel in the past few years, I believe you, I understand. That's very important, I think.
I think the belief thing is a really, really important point you've hit on there, because I think a lot of people, and when we're talking about this, we're including us in these, a lot of people, you know, people are really struggling, because it's very easy, and we sort of say we've been lied to about everything. But when you think about how deep that is, and so much of us humans, we rely on verbal communication, whether it's through the television, whether it's through radio, whether it's through the computers, etc. And, you know, again, we're the only species on the planet that does that. And therefore, because we rely on that so much, we've stopped using our intuition, reading energy, however you want to put it. And I think probably the best thing, you know, for ages, I've been talking about the 10 days of darkness. I honestly think the best thing is almost like to mute everyone, and let them just tune back in again, because it's so important, coming back to the stillness in the swamp, that stillness and that time of non-reaction, of non-action, of allowing yourself to process, is so missing from people's busy modern lives. There's so much information being thrown at everyone from so many different things. It's overwhelming, and we're taught to react, when actually the last thing we want to be doing is stepping into that reaction mode all the time.
Absolutely. That reaction mode is so dangerous. And ask me, I have been the biggest reactive person on this planet. Seriously. And sorry?
Fire. I said the fire horse.
Fire horse. Whoa, I've got myself into some serious trouble we have with that knee-jerk reaction in my life, that's for sure. And I got to tell you, it's still a weakness. I can still have my moments. but it's really just that's why I say I'm so aware of my reactions and how overreactive I can be to certain things. But as I've healed myself, I've understood that super sensitivity that I had in me was really me being so misunderstood that it was always my protection. So whenever anyone came close to misunderstanding something I'm saying, I would react until I started healing. And then I understood it was my own misunderstanding of who I am as a person, of my gifts, my abilities. And that was a process of integration. And now I'm not nearly as reactive anymore because, and I tell you, sitting on a public platform like this, you take insults from people that you never even heard about before, that you never even considered in your orb, that I'm like, how does someone even say that to someone else, you know? I've understood. I've learned to, to take that, take it with a smile, because really, is that who I am? Oh, hell no. And the more they say that, actually, and I find as well, the more negative things people say, the stronger I get. It's because I know it's nonsense anyway. So it's just entertaining more than anything. But that's the point I've reached in my life, honestly, which I think is, for me, it's good. I enjoy being there.
Yeah, I wanted just to add to that reaction thing. For me, the opposite of reaction is responding. So the foundations of responding is responsibility. So if you can learn to respond to life, to your situations, that's taking responsibility. But if you're in a state of reacting the whole time, then you haven't taken responsibility anywhere. Yes, you've got to that reaction is necessary now and again for action, but not with everyday same stuff, reacting to the same stuff. Then you haven't taken responsibility and you're not responding to life. You're just reacting to it. So just wanted to add that.
And I find, I know it's a talk for another day, but it's so fascinating to see what a scary word responsibility is for a lot of people. For me, it's absolutely great, because I'd far rather trust myself than anyone else. Because I've got I'm very self-aware of what my weaknesses are, and therefore where I need extra support. We always joke in my family that if we are being chased by a lion, I'm going to be the one that gets eaten, because I'm definitely the slowest at the moment. So it's quite funny, isn't it? It's like why some of these things are so scary, and where that's come from. And if people are feeling scared by taking responsibility for everything and anything that's happening in their lives, it's a really good place to start and sort of say, okay, where has this come from? What can I do about it? Because again, we're so used to criticizing our politicians, criticizing everyone around us, when actually it's like, you do need so many different personalities to make. If you're looking at any culture, it doesn't matter whether it's a herd of prey animals, whether it's a pride of lions, you cannot all be the same in that group. In a tribe, you need the hunters, you need the cookers, you need the nurturers, you need the wise people, you need the medicine people. If you're all the same, the tribe wouldn't survive. And they're
Exactly.
exactly the same in any group of animals in nature. And sort of, I think embracing each other's differences is so important in everything that's going on at the moment. Thank God there's some cocky people that we might say that have got the guts to take all the stones that are thrown at them, put themselves up there on those public stages and try and take a leadership role. And the ones that are evil as hell and doing it for something else, they absolutely are being exposed now. You can really see it.
Yeah.
Really,
Oh, yeah.
really are they getting the, is it becoming clearer and clearer with every day that goes past?
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure.
Very interesting times indeed. So, yeah, wow. And it looks like we're just about out of time. Wow, it's amazing. I'm always surprised when I look at the little red clock on the side of my screen and it's saying 56 minutes up. Wow. So, as always, Catherine, it's such a pleasure and such a joy to have you on our channel. Thank you so much for joining us today, and really, really appreciate your wisdom and your input for what you've given us and our viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much. And thank you everyone for watching. I didn't have a chance to look at any of the comments today. But I just, these conversations of just what is going on without actually feeling the need to provide any answers. For me, they're really, really helpful because we're all trying to navigate through these new times, and sort of really, most importantly, we're all trying to create, okay, what don't we like? And therefore, what do we want? And I think the more people talk about it, the more something's going to trigger, okay, yeah, this, no, that, it's just going to make everyone's journey a little bit easier, I hope. So thanks everyone who's taken the time to listen. And I love chatting to you too, as you well know.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as always, as I said, it's great to have you. We'll definitely look forward to having you back again. And it's so true what you're saying, about just understanding that these are times that we're just navigating our ways through some difficult times, and just to be gentle, just to be kind, ask for help, ask what the other one needs. I think it's just a time of kindness. And that's why these conversations are so important, because there's so much ugliness that's being exposed and so much fear and confusion. And when we just take time to be kind to each other, we know where we need to be. We know who our friends are. We start trusting, and we start being the light for those who are confused and in a dark place. So, there's a lovely saying that goes, it takes nothing for one candle to light another. So when your light is glowing, millions will be lit from you. And that's what I think I look forward to with our little community moving forward. And again, I want to just say thank you to our viewers as well. Really, really appreciate you guys for tuning in and just supporting and being really cool. We love you, really, we do. Couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Mornay, as well.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys. Take good care. If you haven't already, please give us a like, a share, and a subscribe. Find us on Facebook, BitChute, Twitter, Rumble, Telegram, all over. God bless you all. See you soon.
Bye.